So, some pretty rotten news. It's been out for a wee while now. But yeah, two of the games in the Rugby World Cup have been cancelled. Final pool stage games for the All Blacks and Italy, and the game between England and France both cancelled due to the big typhoon, which is heading over to Japan. Hagibis, and it's the biggest typhoon of the 2019 season, which is pretty horrible timing for the Rugby World Cup. Obviously, it's never nice when these natural disasters strike, whether or not there's a rugby tournament on, but it's just very, very unfortunate timing. Yeah, for these games, for the fans, for the players, for the people of Japan, generally, it's pretty sucky time. So, yeah, I've printed off some of the statements the World Rugby have made to go over some of the main points. But, I mean, their main reasoning is one you can't fault, and that is that the games have been cancelled for safety concerns. Obviously, I've never been anywhere near typhoon weather, but from what I've seen in videos, it seems pretty horrendous, very dangerous, so you cannot have people out and about in those kind of conditions, so safety first. There's kind of no questions about that. Their statement was exceptional and complex, rapidly evolving situation. For the team and public safety is number one. It's been the central decision making. Blah 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 blah. I mean, you guys can read the statements if you want. They are online. Decisions to cancel matches not been taken lightly. Best interest of the public, the team, the tournament personnel, volunteer and safety staff, based on expert advice and weather information, and ensuring a consistent, fair, and equitable outcome for all teams. That last bit, I guess people will have a little bit of doubts about, and they'll say that World Rugby could have done more, but essentially they are following the protocols that they have in place. So yeah, the games have been cancelled for safety concerns. No problems there. If people's lives are at risk, you've got to cancel the game. That's just simple as that. Fans are going to get ticket refund. So if you have a ticket for one of the cancelled games, you'll get a refund for the face value of the ticket. That could get tricky if you've bought tickets from somebody else. I don't know how they're going to do the refunds. I guess the nuts and bolts of that to be decided. They've said follow the Twitter handle at Japan2019_ENG for English for regular updates. So they'll be sorting that one out. But that's going to be a logistical nightmare because yeah, all that thing is kind of also a problem. I have seen a fair mix. I shouldn't have gone on Twitter, but I've seen a mixed reaction to kind of this part of it. Some people expressing frustrations at the fact that their game's been cancelled and they've flown over to Japan for this purpose, and they paid for accommodation and whatnot. All those people have been getting cut down pretty badly in the old Twitter sphere, which is, yeah, not a place you should spend a whole lot of time if you want to feel great, to be fair. But I understand people are annoyed and pissed off that things have happened. If I'd bought tickets, if I was going to Japan for that game and not for much else, and then it got cancelled, I would be annoyed. I might be venting my frustrations on social media. There's a few people on high horses saying, "Hey, it's only a game. Look at the bigger picture. How dare you complain about your own personal problems?" I think the two aren't mutually exclusive. You can be annoyed, frustrated, angry that this has happened, but you can also feel, generally for the public, the people who are having to suffer through the typhoon, which is oncoming. Yeah, you can have both. Just because someone's complaining that, they've spent all this money doesn't mean they don't care about anyone else. They're just angry. So people are venting frustrations all around. It's generally just a crap time for everybody involved. So what does this mean? It means that New Zealand go through top of their pool. They knock out Italy. Italy were still in with a mathematical chance. And for England, it means they go through top of their pool, and France continue on second. So there's no chance for them to pip England for that top spot. So they did get asked about the possibility of rearranging or moving matches. I should say, by the way, for the travel concerns, insurance is something that people are looking at. Travel insurance, whether that's going to cover it all. I did have a quick look at travel insurance to see if that would cover some of that kind of stuff. From some of the policies I saw, it seems like no, but I guess if you've got a really good policy, which is ironclad, it might be able to cover that stuff. But I think it tends to cover like travel that gets rearranged rather than you went there for an event that never ended up happening. I don't know. I'm not an expert on travel insurance at all, or typhoons. So yeah, there we go. Rearranging matches though, they said they looked exhaustively at it, but it was unfeasible on both logistical and safety grounds. They quote, "This is a complex and dynamic situation, monitoring extremely closely with assistance of our weather information experts. We are now in a position to accurately predict the impact of the typhoon." I'm kind of paraphrasing. Making every possible effort to put in place a contingency plan that would have enabled all of Saturday's games to be played. It would have been irresponsible for them to expose basically fans and personnel to what's predicted to be a severe typhoon. I don't know that anyone was asking for them to expose anybody to a typhoon. That seems like a kind of a political answer. I assume most of the frustrations from people and from what I've read is the fact that there's no reserve day or reserve venue, which sounds it sounds silly because yeah, you're never going to be able to move 70,000 fans to just another stadium down the road. It's not like, the mayor of Tokyo calls up the mayor of Sapporo and just says, "Hey bro, can you fit 70,000 people? Sure, bring them over." Like, logistical nightmare. So that was never going to work. There was some talk of playing games behind closed doors, so at least the game gets played. Even if the fans kind of get shortchanged, then at least you get the teams to do their thing on the field rather than just having the automatic result. But that seems to be a big old no-go as well. From what I've read, they basically said that the World Rugby has got these rules in place, which have been in place for a long time, and this is not the first World Cup they've been in place, that if a match can't go ahead for whatever reason, it's a draw. And this is nothing new. They're saying that this is not a World Cup 2019 thing. This is just the way it goes at Rugby World Cup. So that's what knocks Italy out. They were in with a mathematical chance, like I say, to go through. But because of that, they go out. They still haven't made a call on the Scotland-Japan game. It looks like Australia-Georgia is still going ahead. But Scotland-Japan is still up in the air. That one will be really one to watch because... not to be disrespectful, but I feel like the games they cancelled were kind of easy ones to cancel because in all likelihood the All Blacks were going to beat Italy. No guarantee, it's sports. I mean, with the amount of cards they've been at this World Cup, New Zealand could have got 3 red cards and Italy could have got their first ever win. Very unlikely, but it was possible. We'll never know. And France, more likely in their game, but still not the favourites to beat England. So they'll be disappointed not to get a chance. So... yeah, but cancelling both those games doesn't have any dire consequences. If it had been the other way around, if for some reason New Zealand had lost the opening game to the Springboks and it was in a position where if they'd cancelled a game, New Zealand would have gone out, I feel like that's a harder decision to make than to send Italy packing, who've never made the knockout stages. Tell me I'm wrong, but I just feel like that was kind of an easy one. I know they're doing it for safety first, but it is an easier decision to pull that trigger string, whatever, when it's that result. So the Scotland-Japan one will be an interesting test. But yeah, they've basically said that they are applying the rules, and that means that the teams get a draw and 2 points each. They said they've looked again at the potential to apply some contingency plans, but they have to be treated equally. So when posed the question about Scotland, they're saying they have to be consistent. So if they knock Italy out with this rule, then the same will apply for Scotland if it's not safe. So if it's not safe, there's not going to be a backup plan for Scotland to get that game against Japan. It's going to be a draw, and they'll be done. So yeah, and when talking about like reserve days, and I know you guys, a lot of you, and I'm not a big fan of it, or at least not a big follower of it. The Cricket World Cup was also this year. They had a lot of games rained off. You can't play cricket in the wet. They had a lot of games rained off during the pool stages, which were called as draws, and there was a lot of frustration from some of the teams saying, why can't we have a reserve day where if it's raining, we've got another day where we can make up the result. And cricket's a game where you can play more regularly than rugby. Rugby, you generally need a bit of a rest because it's a contact sport. But World Cricket, or the ICC or whatever they're called, basically International Cricket Council, basically just said, no, it's too hard. Total paraphrasing, but it was basically, it's too hard to have a reserve day for every single pool game when there's so many games being played in such a short time. That's kind of what World Rugby have said here. They said it's complex in its own right with 40 pool matches in 4 weeks. With the geography, there's very little flexibility. That's why we have the rules that we have, and that's why we're applying them now. So to have a reserve day or a backup closed doors venue is just too hard basket. That's why they got the rules. If it's a typhoon, if it's any kind of natural disaster, you get the game cancelled. If you're in New Zealand, and remember from Super Rugby this year, we also had a game cancelled. There was a terrorist attack in New Zealand. Game was cancelled. It was a draw. It's an event beyond anybody else's control. It was just seen as the right thing to do. World Rugby's got those same rules. It does seem funny they don't have any kind of contingency plan, but again, if you're an event planner, you'll probably have better understandings of why that's not possible. I get not being able to move the crowd, but I still feel like there should be a better opportunity for the players if safety can be maintained by moving them to a venue away from it. I don't know. It's not easy to book out a venue. It's complex, but it'd be so disappointing if you just out of the World Cup based on those rules. So yeah. When asked about any regrets about hosting the World Cup during the Typhoon season, they pretty much gave a kind of political answer again and just said that from what we've seen over the last 3 weeks, everybody, absolutely in every respect, vindicates the decision to be here in Japan. No one was asking, should we be here in Japan? People were asking, should we be in Japan now? Incredible tournament on the field and off. We always knew there were going to be risks. It's rare for a typhoon of this magnitude to cause this kind of impact late on in the typhoon season. Again, I don't think that was quite the point. I think the point was about the timing. From what I understand, and again, no typhoon expert, the typhoon season is generally May to October, which is huge. It's a long time, with the peak being August and September. So they have kind of, I guess, tried to push the tournament towards the safer end of the typhoon season, but they've still had a bit of bad luck. But I mean, November internationals are usually when we have some rugby games, so maybe November would have been better. I don't know. I mean, up until now, the World Cup has still been fantastic, but it's just really unfortunate news. So yeah, the contingency plans, there really aren't any. They cancel the games and it's a draw. If it is a knockout stage, there is a couple of days backup that they can move the games back to. But if it's such an event that even after those 2 days there's still no chance to play the game, then again they have those tie-breaking rules to separate the teams out. But hopefully it doesn't come to that. Hopefully these are their only two games that get affected. Hopefully the Japan-Scotland game goes ahead. Hopefully everybody locks themselves inside and follows all the instructions and stays nice and safe. Feel sorry for the people affected, of course. People whose direct rugby plans were affected, of course. Feelings go out to those people as well. They're allowed to be angry. I don't think they're trying to make themselves bigger than the whole situation. It's just venting. It's kind of what we do as humans when bad stuff happens. So yeah, it's pretty crappy all round. But yeah, hopefully everybody's safe. England and New Zealand now get, well, plus France, get a really long break going into the knockout stages. Probably too long. I would say the coaches kind of planned the teams out. Like if you look at New Zealand, they played a much shifted up team for their last game with an intent to switch the team up for this final game, but now it's not to be. So we'll see if this helps or hinders the teams going forward. Will it be the rest that helps, or will it be that kind of continuity? Will there be a bit of rust building up? We will see. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts. If you've ever had any experience in kind of large organizations, event planning and all that stuff, feel free to share some insights. I'm sure it's a nightmarish job to try and plan this kind of thing. Good Lord, I need to go to bed. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.